Hi everyone. I've recently watched a video, well I've actually seen a couple of videos in regards to the familiar spirit, and what's interesting is they all kind of carry the same theories, which, you know, I think is fine, but it's whether or not those theories are actually accurate. I've seen a couple of videos where it's basically just saying that the familiar spirit is just an animal helper of a witch. There's a lot more to it than that. This isn't necessarily true. A familiar spirit primarily is a spirit. It is a spirit that aids you and helps you commune to the other world. It is a spirit that establishes that connection to the other world in which you can then commune to. It is also a spirit that will go and do tasks magically for the witch. It is a spirit that will watch over you, will empower your spells. There's a lot more to it than just being an animal that the witch has a relationship with. A familiar spirit will also watch over the body while the witch is crossing the hedge or taking a toad leap or a hare leap into the unseen. It's, you know, yes, there is a familiar can be an animal, can be a physical animal that the witch has a deep relationship with, that may also aid the witch. However, this can be a little bit of a rarity to find because some animals, they're very attracted to magic, some animals they aren't. My bearded dragon, who's having a massive yawn at the minute, is very cute. He, whenever I do magic, goes mental, goes absolutely crazy, and I think he picks up on the energy or the power or the magic, whatever you want to say. But he does sense it quite a lot, and he does go crazy. I haven't yet had him out in any work that I've done, just because he likes to run around, and it would be hard for me, I think, trying to do magic whilst holding him, because he doesn't stay in one place. Believe me. Anyway, so the thing is with this, it's quite annoying because it's, you know, a familiar is not just a physical animal which has a relationship with. A familiar can also be a servitor. A servitor created, a thought form created by the witch to go out and achieve a specific purpose. That can be a familiar. So, a familiar isn't just a physical animal, and the thing is, I saw a video saying that a familiar spirit, that, you know, because of the witch trials or the burning times, as they put it, wasn't, you know, it was just a demonization by the Christian church. But it's not necessarily true, because we see that in a lot of shamanic cultures, there are animals, and they do work with and incorporate animals and have spirit animals. And so why not in witchcraft? I see witchcraft as quite a shamanic tradition. I see it as a very shamanic path. Working with spirits, crossing into the underworld, going into the hedge, you know, I see it as a very, very shamanic pathway. And the old, you know, the ancient tribes, it's said that they did used to work with animals, and they did have various sort of spirit animals or power animals. So we don't, you know, this isn't, even within classical history, there are documents of witches having familiar spirits, of witches calling up spirits in order to go and achieve a specific purpose. So it's not a thing that's necessarily made or demonized by the Christian church. You've got to remember as well that familiar spirits in history have connotations and ties with them to the fairy aspect of them, to be imps or to be fae, and take the form of an animal. And a familiar doesn't necessarily have to be an animal spirit. It doesn't have to be that. You know, a familiar can be a human. It can be a person, as long as you work with them regularly and you have you have a companionship with them. That can be your familiar. But as well, as I said before, a familiar can also be made. It can be a thought form that can be created by the witch. So yeah, a familiar doesn't necessarily have to be an animal. Sometimes there are pictures of witches' familiars that aren't animals, that just look like little imps or little demons. Within ceremonial magic, they have the thought form that they create. They also work with demons as well, and can work with angels, and they can become familiars for that ceremonial magician, or servitors as they would prefer to call them. Right up until the 19th century, we have records of village wise women or village witches working with familiar spirits and having familiar spirits. This isn't a thing that was just demonised by the Christian church. This was genuinely a working practice. This isn't something, a familiar isn't just a physical animal, and it doesn't have to be, and 9 times out of 10 it isn't. Before, my last video I said about spirit working is a very valid form of witchcraft, and is quite an essential key to sorcery and to witchcraft in general. And it always has been throughout history, and we can see that. So, that ties in with this. The familiar spirit is a spirit that will be a guardian for the witch, will protect the witch, and help, empower incenses or powders or waters or anything like that. I mean, this video I watched was a little bit, to be fair, was a little bit retarded. With all due respect, it wasn't the best video, but I have seen a couple of videos stating that a familiar is a physical animal that is the witch's friend. It can be, but it's rarely not. A familiar spirit is a spirit. It is a spirit that will work with the witch. It is a companion. It is a friendship. It is a covenant, a spiritual friendship that you have with that familiar spirit. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to do that, just to set that out there, because I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding as to what a familiar actually is. So, over and out.